started reading all the comments, all the proposals of citizens, and we invited citizens to volunteer to analyze the site and summarize conclusions. Which is another way of using this collective intelligence to come up with work together, which is crowdsourcing. And the idea here is we invited citizens to read those comments, analyze the comments, and summarize them. And then we had the validation, a check on the correctness of this information by inviting different people to join the same process. So, for example, those are just showing quickly some examples of things that are, what I put here in red. I mean, those are some of the recommendations that came up from the website, but the ones on red are the ones that we kind of find today on the current constitution. So, for example, there is more request for gender equality. So there is men and women are equal in all types of rights, not just civic and political rights that we had from the previous constitution. There was a big discussion about the sacrality of the king, where on the website people were asking that the king should be respected, not as a sacred person, which is something great when we have it in the new constitution. The prime minister of the old constitution was appointed by the king, and the recommendation here was the prime minister should be from the majority party, which is something we have today in the current constitution. So basically, what we did is we published in real time all the statistical results so people can follow what's going on. We did analytical results periodically so people would know, understand, and even comment or disagree with the comments. And at the end, we got invited to the National Committee of Drafting of the Constitution to present the findings and the recommendations. Basically, we presented the recommendations as well as all the documentation, about 750 pages of the comments of people that represented 10,000 comments. Today, when we look back, there was a research done in France that 40% of the recommendation put on the website exists today in the current constitution. So somehow we can say that the electronic citizens participated on the legislative process. Later on, we shared this experience with a few countries, namely Tunisia and Egypt. We shared it with Egypt like 3 times, and there was a lot of political turmoil we had to take again. Yeah, so quickly. Basically, my recommendation here is we need to really believe that internet can be a big opportunity for leveraging democracy and pushing it up. In Morocco, today we have this opportunity that the constitution has explicit clauses about participative democracy. We have this youth engagement and internet penetration that's really high, that makes this tool very popular if we want to. Technologically, this experience happened in 2011. Now 2013, few countries been through the same process. So we have the majority of technology, we can be confident that we can do the right thing, so it's not a problem of technology. Also in Morocco, we have civil society is pretty engaged and mature on the participative model, so we need to leverage this. And at the end, we already have official initiatives of using participative model. We have the slides of Fikra of the Ministry of Technology. We have the experience of the General Secretary of the Government to discuss new draft laws. And we hope soon we're going to have the slides of the National Dialogue of Civil Society, as we hope we use the internet for this. At the end, basically, I think the opportunity is that we can quickly and in a larger scale than the classical model, just the least, we can educate citizens about their rights and obligations, gain the trust of citizens back, which is a problem, raise the level of citizenry and responsibility, and then reduce the level of political apathy. I mean, if you look at the statistics of participation on elections and referendum constitution, we still have a problem of apathy, and we need to bring citizens back, and this is an interesting tool. And then just build and raise the culture of democracy and dialogue and difference, which is something that we are struggling with. And I mean, ultimately, this is something that's going to reduce the tension on the streets, and we can basically walk all together on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Constitution process. I'm sure you have questions or comments on this, because that must be applicable to many countries in the region right now. So discussions about this. Any views, comments, suggestions?
Actually, my question is, how do you make sure that there is no duplication of the votes in your website? And do you have any plan My first question is, how do you make sure that there is no duplication in the votes on your website? And the second one is, do you have any plans to advocate on the high percentage result? Thank you.
First, I want to thank Mr. Tariq for the pioneering project. I want to thank you for your team for the great work on this website. I like the idea so much, but I have some questions. Maybe my colleague here had asked one of the questions I was about to ask. How can you know that the same person makes more than one vote, or the same, it's not only person, maybe the same political party can have many people to enter online and say their votes in a specific direction in order to make some false data about some articles in the Constitution. Another question, you know that many people have not the ability to go to the internet or to use the internet, have no ability to even read and write. So I think this data does not represent the overall society, but it's a first step. I really admire it, but have you any idea about how to generalize this idea so that all sectors of the society can participate in it or not? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's collect all the questions and answer later. There's a gentleman in the back.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the presentation. My question really is not about substance, but about this conference is organized by the World Bank in conjunction with the partners in development. How do you see the role for the World Bank, for instance, in ensuring that your process goes as you wish? And how does the World Bank envisage also contributing to this? Because you know there are sensitivities, questions of foreign actors intervening in constitution and writing. So how do you see really on the ground in the field? How do you envisage this, both actors, Moroccan, Egyptian actors, and the World Bank as actors?
أنا عندي أكتر من تعليم مهم. دكتور محمد جمال جبريل. هو الجزء الأولاني فكرة إنه الجمعيات التأسيسية عملت جلسات استماع كتير جدا، وكان في مبادرات كتير، أهمها مبادرة أساتذة الجامعة في القاهرة لعمل دستور. لأي مدى قدرتوا تستفادوا من المبادرات وجلسات الاستماع اللي توصلت لكم؟ السؤال الثاني هي واحدة من شعارات الثورة: عيش، حرية، وعدالة اجتماعية. فين العدالة الاجتماعية فيما يخص المواد الخاصة بالحقوق الاجتماعية والاقتصادية؟ الجزء الثالث هو دور المرأة. المرأة في الدستور موجودة في جملة في الدباجة، وفي مادة 10 من الدستور مش موجودة في باقي.
الحقيقة هو سؤال موجه لضيوفنا أو المحاضرين الاثنين. أستاذ طارق، أحب أعرف النقاش المجتمعي اللي كان على الإنترنت استغرق فترة وقت قد إيه من طرح المسودة وحتى صدور نتائجه ودعواتكم للمشاركة في كتابة الدستور كجهة استشارية. وبناء على إجابة حضرتك دكتور جبريل، هل في تجربتك وحضرتك كنت عضو في اللجنة الثانية، اللجنة التأسيسية كان في كتابة دستورنا، كان في متسع من الوقت يستوعب تجربة زي التجربة المغربية؟ شكرا.
سؤالي موجه للدكتور محمد جمال الدين ويتعلق بالمؤسسات الجديدة التي أنشأها الدستور خاصة في مجال الاقتصاد مثل المجلس القومي الاجتماعي، الهيئة القومية للاقتصاد. هل هذه هي الدروس المستفادة من تجربة مجتمعات الفساد في ظل الرئيس السابق حسني مبارك؟ هل كانت هناك تجربة في هذه السنة
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give it back to the panel. So maybe ask Professor Gabriel so to answer first, if that's okay.
الحقيقة إن الدستور مش مجموعة من الإجابة على السؤال اللي هو هل تم الاستفادة من المبادرات اللي تمت في كتابة الدساتير. الحقيقة يعني جه أكثر من 6 دساتير كاملة للجمعية وأكثر من يمكن 10,000 اقتراح. لكن الحقيقة الدساتير ما هيش مجموعة نصوص يتم رصها وإصدارها. الحقيقة الدساتير في اعتبارات كثيرة بتخضع لها، بيتم من خلال التفاعل بين مكونات المشرع الدستوري والمجتمع. الحقيقة يخطئ من يتصور أن القوى السياسية المسيطرة في وقت وضع الدستور ما يبقالهاش تأثير على النص الدستوري. مخطئ تماما، مش عندنا بس في العالم كله. واحنا في دايما بنضرب المثل في فرنسا، شارل دي جول سنة 58 استدعى اللجنة اللي بتضع دستور 58 والحقيقة ادانهم وأوعز لهم إنه عايز نظام جديد خالص، باعتبار إن هو جاي رئيس جمهورية فرنسا في الجمهورية الخامسة، وفعلا وضع اختصاصات لرئيس الجمهورية في نظام غير مسبوق في العالم خالص، قلب النظام البرلماني تماما نتيجة لأن شارل دي جول في الوقت ده كان رجل فرنسا قوي جدا، كان له شعبية طاغية باعتباره كان البطل القومي ومحارب فرنسا من الاستعمار الألماني. فتأثير القوى السياسية على اللي هي لها قوة على الأرض بالتأكيد موجود في الدستور بالتأكيد، لكن ما هوش مش بحجم القوى السياسية، لأنه كان في صوت عالي جدا جاي من بره الجمعية التأسيسية محاولة تقليص هذا الدور، ويمكن التأثير لم يكن بالقوة اللي الإعلام اتكلم بيها والنخب السياسية اتكلم بيها لما نتكلم عن المادة الرابعة ولا عن المادة 219 في الدستور. المادة الثانية لم يكن عليها أي خلاف، بتتكلم على أن مبادئ الشريعة الإسلامية المصدر الرئيسي للتشريع. الحقيقة أن مبادئ الثورة عيش وحرية وعدالة اجتماعية أعتقد إلى حد كبير هي موجودة في الدستور، لكن النصوص القانونية لا تأتي بالمباشرة وبالتخصيص. النصوص القانونية نصوص عامة مجردة، وخصوصا النصوص الدستورية لا يمكن الحديث أبدا عن أن الدستور لم يعمل على تحقيق أهداف الثورة. دور المرأة في الدستور واضح، المرأة مواطن، المرأة مواطن. الحديث عن المساواة بين الرجل والمرأة الحقيقة أعتقد أن دي مرحلة إحنا تخطيناها في مصر. إحنا عندنا مساواة بين الرجل والمرأة، مساواة قانونية ومساواة سياسية. مفيش أبدا يعني ما قلناش إن المرأة ليس لها حق التصويت، ما كانش فيه كده وبقينا كده. لم تحرم المرأة من مباشرة أي حق من الحقوق السياسية، لكن الحقيقة يمكن الأهداف السياسية في النظام السابق كانوا بيجيبوا المرأة من يحطوها في المكان ده. مش المطلوب الحقيقة، المطلوب إن المرأة تنزل وتشارك في الحياة السياسية. عشان يبقى لها دور لازم تنزل وتشارك، إنما عشان يعمل كوتا ويجيب مجموعة من المعارف والأصدقاء ويحطهم من النساء ويحطهم في البرلمان، ده مش هو ده المطلوب أبدا، مش ده المقصود أبدا إطلاقا. يعني المرأة مواطن على قدم المساواة، تتساوى مساواة قانونية كاملة، مش وفقا للنظام حتى وفقا للشريعة الإسلامية أيضا. ليس هناك، ما عندناش في الشريعة الإسلامية فرق في أي حق من الحقوق بين الرجل والمرأة إلا بعض الاختلافات فيما يتعلق بالأحوال الشخصية المتعلقة بالزواج والطلاق. إنما كمواطن المرأة تتساوى تماما مع، ويمكن المادة اللي أثارت الخلاف اللي كانت موجودة في الدستور 71 المساواة بين المرأة والرجل بما لا يخالف الإسلامية، كانت موجودة كده بالظبط في الدستور 71، لكن عملت خلاف شديد جدا في الدستور 2012، وكان الحل الحقيقة إنها تتشال، لأنه القوى الليبرالية أصرت على حذف بما لا يخالف أحكام الشريعة الإسلامية، والقوى الإسلامية الموجودة في الجمعية أصرت على بقائها، لأنهم قالوا لو شئنا بما لا يخالف أحكام الشريعة الإسلامية هنيجي مثلا في قوانين المواريث وتيجي تقول الذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين، هتيجي البنت اللي هتاخد نص أبوها هتطعن بعدم أسلوبية النص ده، وهتحتكم إلى نص المادة اللي بتحكم بالمساواة المطلقة. وإخواننا القوى الليبرالية قالوا بما لا يخالف أحكام الشريعة الإسلامية، الحقيقة ده هيؤدي إلى التفسيرات الكثيرة والاختلافات الكثيرة التي تؤدي مثلا في مسألة الولاية، هل للمرأة الحق في الولاية الكبرى ولا ملهاش الحق الولاية الصغرى؟ هذه الأمور فرؤي أن النص الذي يتحدث عن المساواة بين المواطنين هو الأفضل، وهم اتفقوا على كده. وعلى فكرة القوى السياسية اتفقت على الكلام ده خارج الجمعية مش داخل الجمعية، كانوا بيقعدوا مع بعض في بما يعرف اجتماعات التوافق واتفقوا على كده، وجم في الجمعية الممثلين بتوعهم وأقروا هذا الكلام. استيعاب التجربة المغربية، هي التجربة المغربية مختلفة تماما عن التجربة المصرية. التجربة المصرية تأتي في مرحلة تحول في أعقاب ثورة. التجربة المغربية الإصلاح بيأتي من داخل النظام المغربي، يأتي من داخل النظام المغربي، موضوع مختلف تماما. سؤال الأستاذ الدكتور مصطفى كامل عن المؤسسات الجديدة زي المجلس الاقتصادي. الحقيقة المجلس الاقتصادي ده معمول لضمان حقوق العمال والبديل لفكرة 50%. يعني يبقى في حد قاعد باصص على حقوق العمال والفلاحين اللي يمكن تمثيلهم في البرلمان هيبقى صعب، فده مجلس بديل لفكرة كده. أما حكاية جهاز مكافحة الفساد، هو الحقيقة ما هوش بديل لأجهزة مكافحة الفساد، ده هو للتنسيق بين أجهزة مكافحة الفساد، لأنه الجهاز المركزي هيبقى موجود، الرقابة الإدارية موجودة، المباحث الأموال العامة موجودة، لكن هو جهاز عشان ما يحصلش تضارب، وعلشان ما فيش جهاز يخبي ملف ويطلع ملف، يبقى في جهاز مكافحة الفساد للرقابة والتنسيق على هذه الأجهزة، لأن اكتشف بعد الثورة أن أجهزة الرقابة لديها كل ملفات الفساد وتعلم كل ملفات الفساد، لكن كان هناك توجيه سياسي بإخراج هذا الملف وتوجيه سياسي بإخفاء هذا الملف. فالاستقلال لجهاز مكافحة الفساد هو اللي هيكون مطلق التقدير في حالة الأمور للنيابة العامة وللقضاء، ما يجيش توجيه سياسي. ده كان الهدف منه، وأنا بشكركم جدا وبعتذر لأني مرتبط بميعاد دلوقتي. شكرا.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Brill. That was a very comprehensive answer. Thank you for your participation. And let's give it to Sutali for final answers on this part.
Thank you. So yeah, to answer the question of the duplication of votes, the question. So I mean, the electronic platform today is not. Basically, what we show you is not a platform for referendum. If we want to do a real referendum, we need to do electronic voting. And electronic voting technology is much more advanced than what we have here. It's something that we use today in the US. And this is more of like a sentiment and sentiments measure and orientation measure. So what we did to kind of frame the number of votes, the voting was anonymous, and it's measured by the machine IP address of the computer, which means you can only vote once in the computer. There is a problem with that. So if you have 3 or 4 computers, or you have 6 or 7 mobile phones, you vote 6 times. You also have another problem. If you have a big family, only the first person who votes gets to vote. So yes, there are limitations to that. On the other side, we did a statistical study, and then when you get a high number of users, voters, the margin of error becomes very, very small. So that's kind of reduced the thing. The comments, we used Facebook accounts. In Morocco, Facebook penetration is very high. We have around 5 million users, mostly used. And that's reduced like anonymous user to just send spam, etc. On the other side, we got attacks by spammers to kind of traffic the results, etc. And that's something we had to deal with and improve the technology as we go. So this is something we need to be aware of as we work on it. The question of are we inclusive? Definitely not. I mean, the internet penetration officially is 40% of the users. On the other side, when I think about this problem of inclusiveness, it's also a problem of democracy in a country like Morocco in general. If you want a democracy, if you want to be democracy, you need to have an educated population. We cannot, even asking people today to vote yes or no for a constitution, if you're illiterate, it really doesn't make sense. Like illiteracy is the biggest challenge here. So in Morocco, we have more than 50%, or maybe 50% of the literacy rates. That excludes half of the population on participating in the political sphere. And that's a bigger challenge because internet penetration is, in my sense, it's a question of time. But the real challenge is how can we raise to the level of being inclusive in all the democratic practices. Plans forward. So yeah, your question about like priorities, can we keep pushing forward? So my perception of this work is we are in a chain of reform, and this is a long-term project. Because if you really want to push in every change, you want to make it right away, we're talking about a revolution. And here what we're trying to do in Morocco is we are trying to get a step-by-step, gradual improvement of things. So what we did in Morocco is after the work on the constitution, 3 months later we had elections. So we had an election monitoring system to gain trust, let people participate on monitoring, and kind of reduce the level of apathy. After that, there was a whole campaign about fighting corruption. And so basically we are just trying to accompany the progress and the reforms going in Morocco using tools like using internet to basically make things move forward in the direction that we want to and the population wants to. So, I mean, those are some of the examples I showed at the beginning: fighting corruption, open budgets, etc. The fourth question about the role, I can share my feeling about the role of the World Bank. My perception is this time for me to be institutionalized. This means this needs not to be done by activists or civil society. This needs to be done by the government and with the civil society and citizens, in a way that we are talking about a real participative democracy model where everybody is participating and building the state. And then we have experiences, success stories in other countries that we can be inspired on. It's not something new that we are coming to. And I think that the experience we have today, and we hope it's going to be participative in the national dialogue, and we hope that will be a first exercise where we get into using internet in a powerful way to make participation. The last comment was about the time period, and can we get it into an experience like this in Egypt. So in Morocco, we prepared the website. Basically, this website was done by 2 engineers, myself and another engineer. And we built the website before even like the streets protest. And we kept it, we were looking for the right timing. And the April 9th was a historical speech of the king. We said, we're going to open up the debate of the constitution, and we asked citizens to participate on these debates. So that was the green light for us when we opened it, and that's how it started. And it stayed for about 6 weeks, so we got invited by the National Committee to present the results. So, just to give you more information, we shared it later with the Egyptian friends, and it did not work. And maybe there were some lessons there to see why it works or didn't work. So the first experience was with Wasiqa was BG, which is a website done by the team of Abadi. And in my perception, it didn't work because it was coming from Abadi. It wasn't coming from an independent, impartial entity who's opening a debate about it. It has a political stand. experience in Egypt was with the website dostogmethod.com. So the Storm Method, we launched it in a week. We got like 20,000 users, which was like much more than we had in Morocco. But then, and it was launched by activists of the Tahrir Square. And then they stopped it because they had a discussion back then. Let's say, الانتخابات أولاً والدستور أولاً. I don't know if you guys remember this. And they said, no, we need to have elections rather than the constitution, and then that's how they blocked it. So the idea here, I think, the technology is mature, but we also need to think about the timing is very important. Who is doing this type of work is very important, and the success is all a combination of all those actors. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Tariq. Thank you very much. Maybe also from my point of view, to answer to your question on the role of the World Bank, it's very simple. We should not have any rule on constitutional draft. It's not our function. So what you can get from us is, if you're interested, is some knowledge also about some constitutional principles that we put at the disposal of governments, and we have done that around the world after the Second World War. There's no involvement whatsoever in anything in the constitutional drafting. That's from my side. Thanks again for your availability and for this interesting presentation. Thank you very much.